Yo, Scrawny with the Skinny, back at it with the Pick'em Challenge one more time. It's the last stage of the major, the most important stage. It's the playoff stage. And it's high pressure, not just for the teams, of course. This is a stacked top 8. This is almost as perfect of a playoff group that you could hope for. There is a reason to cheer for each of these teams. There's a story you can attach yourselves to, and the quality of Counter-Strike has just been elevated as this major goes on. So thank you, Counter-Strike gods. We've got ourselves a real playoffs bracket for Copenhagen, and it should be. It's the very first CS2 major. I guaranteed you the gold coin. I said the Scrawn Dog guarantee was gold and beyond, and by God, we've done it. All right? Easy top 16, 7 out of the 10 picks, no sweat, no stress, no nothing. Now the pressure's on you. The pressure's on you because there's a lot of people out there on the internet that want your views. They want your clicks, your likes, your subscribes. All right? And not all of those people have the possibility of getting a diamond coin. You know the ones I'm talking about. And yet here they are, still claiming expertise. Here they are trying to sway you onto the dark side to where they can take risks because they don't have as much on the line as you. If you are in my position and you are shooting for diamond, you and I have something in common. We have the possibility to actually get it. So that's why we're going to be risk averse with our playoff pick'ems. Leave the risk to those that are already out of the race. All right? Oh, let's do this. Na'Vi beat Eternal Fire. The reason Na'Vi beat Eternal Fire in my mind is because I'm being risk averse. I don't want to touch an Eternal Fire that is as unproven as they are in playoffs, right? If you were looking at some of these lesser experienced stage teams, the real drop-off here is with Eternal Fire. They have played as well as they have and earned this spot, and I'm glad they did. I'm proud of Eternal Fire, and it's awesome to see Turkey in top 8. I would say that, I'm one of the people who predicted Eternal Fire to make it into playoffs because I see their promise. I believe in them. But I think that, the first hiccup is always going from online to LAN, and then the next speed bump is going from LAN to playoff stages. And we've seen other teams choke in the past, right? We've seen teams like Maus once upon a time get to these points and fall in quarterfinals. And that's fine because it is a whole other game. It's a whole other beast with a roaring crowd and all of the pressure that comes with it. And if they had a little more practice in this kind of an environment, then I could put my faith in them. But when we look at Na'Vi, we're talking about a team, albeit one that had a very poor best of 3 versus Cloud9, 2 maps that I think Alexi B will never, ever look back on and find anything to talk well of. They should be a little bit ashamed, actually, for the second and third map of that series because it was so incredibly flat. It didn't feel like they had the game plan, and it felt like, that's one thing Na'Vi are supposed to be bringing to the table is the game plan. The preparation of Alexi B and Blade, the 15-day boot camp that they've been on is definitely enough to put their team in a place to make top 8, and they did, but they are also going to need to tap into some individual level. We're going to need to see a little more from Ime. And I don't think JL can keep the carry up on his own, right? But we do still have Ime, JL, Wonderful, and of course Bit. And when we've got Wonderful and Bit, I think that's where we're really talking. Those are 2 players who have far more playoff experience, who have real capabilities of taking over the game. And if JL's just going to kind of prop it up for now to get them to this point, a few days off, and I think Na'Vi rock this playoffs because Alexi's been in grand finals. Wonderful and Bit, way more experience than the other 2, and even the 2 lesser experienced in JL and Ime were top 8 at the last major. So this is nothing new to Na'Vi. They've got a bit of time off, which means really good preparation from Blade and Alexi, and unfortunately, I think that of all the quarterfinals, this is one where I'm just not going to take the risk. Maus versus G2 up next. You could argue Maus aren't even, up against the right team. This is supposed to be Virtus Pro. Say some, but I think that none of that can influence your decision of who you predict between Maus and G2 because now we're talking about Nico and Monacy in a big stage, a playoff stage and a big important match. And it's for that reason that I'm a little cautious about this pick because G2 could suddenly cause a rumbling down here on the bottom half of the bracket. Right? I can feel it brewing a little bit that G2 could suddenly power up from their last outing versus Virtus Pro. But you know what? Even if G2 power up a little, it ain't enough. We're talking about Maus, who, since bringing Shuhei back, has had phenomenal consistency in making playoffs. And every time that Maus make playoffs, the only team that cuts them out tends to be FaZe. They had a grand finals versus ENCE, in IEM Dallas. And when they had that run in Dallas, right, this is the core of MOUZ I'm speaking about. They got to grand finals and Snappy got his flowers, okay? But IEM Sydney, FaZe eliminate MOUZ. CAC 2023, FaZe eliminate MOUZ. Blast World Finals, FaZe eliminate MOUZ. IEM Katowice, FaZe eliminate MOUZ. And yet down here on the bottom side of the bracket, for the very first time in a fucking long time, there is no FaZe to eliminate MOUZ. MOUZ will defeat G2. This is a team you can put very real stock in. Shuhei gets the best out of everybody. Shuhei hoists trophies. From We Play Academy League to now, Shuhei has been preparing himself and growing into being a generational talent of an in-game leader. And his biggest inspiration and influence is Kerrigan, arguably one of the greatest to ever do it. And there will be no nerves for MOUZ because that Kerrigan team, their kryptonite in FaZe Clan, does not stand before them on their half of the bracket. MOUZ are moving to semis at least. We go to the top side, and I want to do Team Spirit FaZe out of the gate. You know, there's a lot of talk about FaZe suddenly going to be finding form because it's playoff stage. And I highly anticipate Kerrigan walking out into the Royal Arena and playing that crowd up and getting them to be on FaZe's side. And that crowd is going to be huge. It is going to be loud, and it is going to be Danish at times. And I think that FaZe Clan will have that to their advantage. But I don't think you shake up Team Spirit with something like that. I don't think that's enough to get an edge over Team Spirit, a team that has dropped one best of 3 so far this year versus MOUZ, and a couple of maps to Na'Vi essentially. Team Spirit have the full package. They've got everything they need. They've got the highest rated player of the year in Donk. They've got Zontix, who is cool as ever and doesn't seem to get, you know, afflicted by any kinds of pressure. They've got a big ticket Opper in Shiro, so they have the formula to win. And then if we look down to Magix and Chopper, you were talking about 2 players who have hit top 8 not once, not twice. Okay, multiple top 8s at majors now for Magix and for Chopper, and this really feels like it's Chopper's major to win. It feels like it is his turn to take over for the CIS region and bring forth a team that he has hand-selected, crafted over years, and has now built into what could very well be major winners. I know FaZe will play better, but usually when we talk about FaZe playing better once they get to playoffs, you know, all those FaZe 3-0 picks, and yet when they lost their opening game, we weren't even that surprised. That's what we usually get. That's what makes you par for the course. What you don't anticipate with FaZe is them getting their asses kicked 13-1 by Eternal Fire. This is not the same FaZe. Will they be better than they were in this top 16? Yes, absolutely. I think that that is a guarantee. Will they be good enough to dispatch of a middle-of-the-pack team? Yeah, I bet. You put them up against Na'Vi, FaZe take that. Eternal Fire, FaZe take that. G2, FaZe take that. But we're talking about the #1 team of 2024 with the #1 player and a formula that has been proven to work already. If this was Team Spirit in their first playoffs, it'd be one thing. But they have already won IEM Katowice, and they did that in incredibly convincing fashion. In a best-of-5 over FaZe that they didn't even pick up one map. So why would Team Spirit drop the ball now? They won't. And I think that with that Team Spirit choice, for a second, let's talk format and what we need to do for the Diamond Coin. You've got to predict the winner of the major. You've got to predict one of the semifinalists, which is a guarantee if you predict the winner. And then you need 2 quarterfinals. And the most embarrassing thing that you could do is, of course, pick the winner, get your guaranteed semi, and then only get one of your quarterfinals. So stay sharp. Okay? Because this last best of 3, this last quarterfinal, I think is incredibly hard to predict because the unknown variable is will ZywOo get better? Not just in the server, not just, you know, Counter-Strike related. Will he feel healthier? Because at the moment you can see him visibly sick. He's coughing, he looks weak, and unfortunately, they need him. They straight up need him. Spinks and Flamesy aren't enough. Mezzy has not had that level that he did back at World Finals since he pulled it off. And Cloud9 are looking better than ever. Better than quite some time. They're working with a formula that we're not supposed to believe in. All of us want to say that you can't do it without the Opper, and that Op is a reason still for Boomich's inconsistencies, but Axile is here to play. Axile's level is major playoffs worthy. It feels like he has figured out CS2. And when I look at Cloud9 and Vitality, I think the map pool gets a little weird. You know, it's hard to decipher what's what because, you know, for me, Spirit have 4 maps over FaZe guaranteed. They're going to win Mirage, Overpass, Ancient, and Anubis. And when I look at Mouse's pool, I think the same thing. Ancient, Mirage, Vertigo, Overpass. If you have majority map pool in your back pocket, it's really just Nuke for Mouse and Spirit that I have a slight question mark. You know, I tried to crunch the numbers, and maybe those series go 3 maps because of Nuke. Beyond that, they're covered. When we go to Cloud9 Vitality, dude, it's going to get wishy-washy. I think Anubis, Overpass, Nuke again, maybe. But if Overpass is in the mix, I think Axile is going to be the reason that Cloud9 win that. So when I look at these two teams, I see a Vitality that dropped out of Katowice, but oh wait, so did Cloud9. I look at the Major and I think Vitality looked like a shell of themselves. Spinks had a big ticket game to kind of prop them up first and foremost. He said, Zywoo, set me up, let me pick up this slack, and he did it. Props to Spinks for that. Flamesy was important versus the game against Complexity in Anubis. But how consistent is Flamesy on Anubis? How consistent are Vitality right now? Not as consistent as what we've seen from Cloud9. And so I think C9 are the 4th semifinalist at the very first CS2 major. But in the face of Team Spirit, and in the face of a team with an op, and not any op, but their own ex-opper, who has now stepped forth with real talent, proven entities, and already a trophy in their cabinet for 2024, that is where Cloud9 fall. I think Cloud9 versus Vitality is actually the prediction where you can just go with your flow. I think this quarterfinal is difficult to call because we don't know what Vitality will walk into the playoffs, and it doesn't matter because Team Spirit are going to beat them no matter what. I think Team Spirit, you know, you've got to put them forth. They've proven everything already. They've proven everything already. Maybe Kerrigan gets the Danish crowd riled up, but that is if that is the only counterpoint that I have to Team Spirit, by God, isn't that a statement as to what they can truly do right now? We go back down to Mouse versus Navi, and I think this is a game where it's going to come down to some really cool in-game leading. This could be a high-level, complex game of Counter-Strike. You've got Blade and Alexi B on one side prepping for the match, but then you've got Shuhei and Cyclone, who I think in the middle of a match, dude, Shuhei hits flow state with calls sometimes. And he has the pieces around him that have proven they can do it. The only kryptonite is FaZe, and FaZe are no longer in the playoffs at this stage. Navi, it's just not there. The level's just not there from Bit, from Ime. It's just not there. It's not enough to hold back Mouse because Yimfat has no shakiness to his gameplay. Brolin is looking to prove everybody wrong. And what we know about Shuhei is he brings the best out of all of the players that he has ever been given. That ability is something else. Mouse beat Navi. They play Team Spirit in the grand finals because the first CS2 major grand finals will be one where we sit back and say that was the turning point. That is where two teams who basically didn't have partner status up until late, and for Mouse still don't have it with Blast, turn the tides. Team Spirit versus Mouse is your grand finals, and Donk will be the youngest major champion in Counter-Strike history. Chopper has been waiting years for this. He has had multiple attempts, and Shuhei's not far off. That game could get close because the only team to beat Spirit in 2024 in a best of 3 was Mouse. But, and this is where I hate to say the but, because I am a Mouse fan through and through. Always believed in them, always will. And their futures are so incredibly bright with the age of all the players really in this grand finals. But the difference is Mouse beat them in the one comfort zone they always have, and that is in studio Counter-Strike environments. And on top of that, one of the phenomenal games from Shuhei of 2024. I don't think Shuhei plays that well again. I think that he will get bogged down with just trying to counter Spirit. You know, the brain battle that's going to go on between Chopper and Shuhei, I think will be a little too much to keep his individual level where it was last time they met up. When they met at the RMRs, yes, Mouse beat them. Spirit aren't going to let that happen twice. Spirit will be the very first CS2 major champions. Lock them in. Scrawny gold coin guarantee is done. I wish you guys all the luck for your diamonds. Fingers crossed. If, of course, you've liked the content throughout this major, please do just drop a like, a comment, maybe a subscription. I do fantasy videos on the side, and it's always fun to do the Pick'em Challenge. This is like the only other content I get to do on my YouTube, and I always look forward to it. So thank you guys for believing. Hope I made you proud, and enjoy the playoffs because this is going to be an epic fucking major.